All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with Paying Your Taxes Math Study Guide. Number 1 says tax rates are 5% on the first $10,000 you earn and 10% on amounts over that. You earn $15,000. What is your tax? So you actually have taxes in two different brackets here. Your total is actually $15,000. Your first bracket is your first $10,000 that we need to tax at 5%. And then your second, let's subtract your total of $15,000 and then subtract the $10,000 that we are going to determine tax on in our first bracket. And so we know the last $5,000 has to be taxed at 10%. So let's figure out these two different brackets and add them together. So 10,000, we're going to take that and move it over to, so we've got 0.05. So 10,000 times 0.05 or 5% means we pay $500 within that tax bracket. The second bracket, remember we already paid our first $10,000, so we need to tax our last $5,000 at 10%. So let's move that decimal place over to, so 5,000 times 0.1 is going to give us another $500 in taxes. Now we're not quite finished yet because we need to add our two tax brackets together. So the first tax bracket of $10,000 at 5% was $500, and then we're going to add our last $5,000 times 10% or 0.1 of $500 together for our total tax of $1,000 paid on $15,000. All right, let's take a look at number 2. It says you earned $40,000 and your total tax due was $5,000. What is your average tax rate? So what we're going to do is take your total tax due and we are going to divide it by the amount you actually earned. So let's take a look here. Total tax due is $5,000 and we're going to divide it by $40,000 that you earned. When we do that, we're going to get 0.125, and let's go ahead and change that into a percentage by moving that decimal place 2 over, so 2.5%. So in $40,000, you are paying 12.5% tax, which means you have $5,000 in taxes due. All right, let's take a look at number 3. You earned $25,000. The tax table says you owe $3,000 in taxes. During the year, your tax withholdings were $5,000. What is your refund? So to figure out our refund, what we're going to do is we're going to take our tax withholdings and we're going to subtract our taxes owed and see how much money we're getting back or our refund. So our refund is going to be equal to our tax withholdings, which were $5,000 this year, and we're going to subtract our taxes owed. So we're going to subtract the $3,000 that we actually owed from the $5,000 we actually paid. That means that we paid $2,000 over what we actually owed in taxes. So we'll be receiving that as a refund. Let's look at number 4. You're offered a choice between paying a flat tax, one rate on all income of 10% on $40,000 of income, and paying a graduated tax of the following schedule on the same income. Schedule is 5% on the first $25,000 and 30% on your income over $25,000. Which is better for you? So let's start first with just the flat tax. So for flat tax, all we are going to do is take the amount we earned, which we know is $40,000, and we're going to multiply it by just a flat rate of 10%. So let's move that decimal over, 0.10, and that is equal to $4,000 that we would have to pay on $40,000 if we paid a 10% flat tax. So now let's take a look at the graduated tax. So graduated tax, we're going to have to look at the different tax brackets like we did in number 1. So we earned $40,000. The first tax bracket is $25,000. So our first $25,000 will be taxed at 5%. And then our remaining balance, let's figure out what that's going to be. So $25,000 is equal to $15,000 that will remain. So our first bracket is going to be that $25,000 at 5%. So let's go ahead and let's move that decimal place 2 over. So 25,000 multiplied by 0.05. So we know in that case that we would be paying $1,250 for the first tax bracket. Now remember, we still have $15,000 remaining, and that is going to be taxed at the higher rate of 30%. So let's take that 30%, change that to a decimal point 3, and multiply that by our remaining 15,000. So we've got 15,000 times 0.3. This bracket we would have to pay $4,500. So remember, we have to add these two together. So our first bracket was 1,250 plus our second bracket of 4,500 equals a total of $5,750. Clearly, it would be best for us to pay this flat tax of $4,000 rather than paying the graduated tax of $5,750. All right, let's take a look at number 5. You discovered you can deduct medical expenses over 6% of your income. Your income is $40,000 and you had medical expenses of $2,500. What portion of your medical expenses can you deduct? So first thing, let's figure out our income and then 6% of our income to figure out our medical expenses deduction. So 40,000 multiplied by 6%, let's change that to a decimal, move that decimal place 2 places over, 0.06, and multiply 40,000 times 0.06. So we know that we can deduct anything over $24,000. Anything over that, we can exempt. Anything under $2,400, we cannot deduct anything at all. So let's see if we reached our mark. So we've actually had medical expenses of $2,500, and our exemption rate was $2,400. So we're going to subtract our actual expenses and then subtract our 6%, which is $2,400. So when we subtract, we have a remaining $1,000 that we can exempt or deduct as medical expenses in our taxes. Anything under $2,400, it would have been 0. We couldn't have done anything. But any dollar amount over $2,400, we can exempt or deduct anything over $2,400. So $1 over would have been a $1 exemption, so on and so forth.